Tonight, just days from a work stoppage deadline, Ottawa says it won't step in.
It is up to Air Canada and the pilots union to do the work.
The pressure is on as passengers scramble.
It's been chaotic and anxious.
We break down what's driving the dispute and what travelers should do next. A deadly attack at an Ontario encampment
This is not a safe environment.
reignites the debate about supervised consumption sites.
We're all gonna end up on the streets downtown. Is that any better?
Tired of tipping or being asked to tip at every turn?
If I don't tip, I get this guilt trip. I don't know how to deal with it.
How Quebec is trying to crack down.
From CBC News, this is The National with Ian Hennemanson.
Air Canada and its pilots are just days away from a possible work stoppage, and despite calls from the airline for Ottawa to intervene, the Prime Minister's answer tonight is a hard no.
I'm not going to put my thumb on the scale on either side. We believe in collective bargaining, and we're going to keep pushing people to do it.
Pilots want wage increases similar to those at some U.S. airlines. Air Canada calls those demands unreasonable. And after 16 months of negotiations, flights serving more than 100,000 passengers daily could start being grounded as early as Sunday. As Nisha Patel shows us, it's already upending plans as travelers scramble to make alternate arrangements.
Daniel Chu didn't want a shutdown to ruin his travel plans.
We want to choose to change our flights just to avoid the risk of, missing out the flight.
So his family is flying to Tokyo 2 days early to start their vacation.
Just scrambling around because we thought we have extra 2 days for packing and whatnot.
Air Canada and its pilots union have been in contract talks for more than a year. But wages are still a big sticking point. If they don't reach a deal by this weekend, either side could move forward with a lockout or strike starting next Wednesday. Air Canada has warned it could start canceling flights as early as Sunday, leaving tens of thousands of travelers in limbo.
For a lot of clients who are financially able to, booking refundable fares on alternative airlines ahead of time has kind of been our best course of action.
Air Canada has called for the government to step in, like it did with last month's rail shutdown. For now, the Prime Minister is insisting it's up to the company and its union to work things out.
So I know every time there's a strike, people say, get the government to come in and fix it. We're not going to do that. We believe in collective bargaining, and we're going to keep pushing people to do it.
Nice windy morning. Christine Renault was visiting Newfoundland to hike the East Coast Trail, but she says she was forced to cut her trip short by almost a week.
I do have to get back for work, so I just bit the bullet. To be honest, it is frustrating because I'm really disappointed because I really loved this hike so much.
Passengers who might be affected can get travel credits or rebook flights for free within certain dates. Though with the deadline looming, how widespread the disruption will be is still up in the air. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
In a few minutes, we'll hear from an aviation expert on how likely a work stoppage is and a travel agent on how her clients are preparing for it. That's coming up. About 33,000 workers are now on strike at Boeing, hitting the U.S. company's aircraft manufacturing unit.
Strike! 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 Strike!
The union said workers voted 96% in favor of a strike, affecting operations in the Pacific Northwest, where some of the company's most popular aircraft are built. This is another challenge to a company that's faced years of setbacks, investigations, and accusations of lax safety procedures. U.S. authorities are pressing ahead with efforts to extradite a Toronto man accused of plotting an ISIS-inspired terror attack in New York. Thomas Dagla now on what happened in court today and what we're learning about the accused.
Arrested by RCMP near the U.S. border, Mohammed Shahzeb Khan was allegedly planning a mass murder on October 7th, 1 year after the Hamas attacks on Israel. Now, in a Montreal court, a federal prosecutor is shedding new light on the case, with the U.S. seeking extradition and sharing evidence like this picture of a weapon the FBI says the Pakistani man posted online.
It's a surprise first that he was arrested at the border in special circumstances that we're going to have to look at.
U.S. authorities say the 20-year-old told undercover officers he would give this money to a human smuggler to help him cross the border. Then they allege Khan planned to wear this ISIS-style headband and open fire in a Jewish center, writing, "We are going to New York City to slaughter them."
It highlights just how effective our security services and institutions are.
Now held at this Montreal jail, Khan is actually the latest in a string of terrorism-related arrests after tips from foreign intelligence, including a Toronto father and son who allegedly plotted their own ISIS-inspired rampage.
While they may no longer have the territory that they had claimed as theirs in Iraq and Syria, but ISIS is not gone.
In this latest case, U.S. authorities have 60 days to give Canada enough evidence to support extradition.
What are they willing to disclose publicly?
This former U.S. government counterterrorism official says there may be intelligence authorities don't want discussed in open court.
Sometimes that's the price you have to pay. You may have to reveal something that previously was a sensitive collection source or method in order to make the actual criminal prosecution.
Consider police have said nothing about the others detained last week and whether they knew anything about that alleged plot.
The U.S. criminal complaint also refers specifically to one unnamed woman who was seen traveling with Khan. Who she is, whether she's been arrested and charged, we've asked, and police aren't saying, Ian.
And Thomas, so much in this case remains unclear.
Yeah, we know from the federal immigration minister that Khan came to Canada last year in June on a student visa, but where he's been staying in the Toronto area, what he's been up to, it's really not clear. I reached out to several post-secondary institutions in the area asking whether he's been enrolled. None of them would comment, Ian.
Thomas Dagla in Toronto. There are new calls to permanently close a supervised drug consumption site in Kingston, Ontario, after a deadly attack at a nearby tent encampment. But as Katie Nicholson shows us, advocates say closing the facility would put even more lives at risk.
Yellow police tape hugs the borders of a Kingston encampment, the scene of a violent attack that claimed 2 lives and critically injured another.
We lost 2 of our best friends. Now to lose our homes and have to go somewhere where we're not going to feel as comfortable as we all do here that we're used to, it's going to take its toll, man.
It happened close to a supervised consumption site. After an hours-long standoff, police arrested and charged a 47-year-old man, well known to those inside the encampment. It also sparked a new wave of calls to permanently shut down the site, including from the mayor.
2 people died yesterday. So we need to recognize that, and we just say, what do we need to do to keep people alive? What we're doing is putting people at risk.
I find it, sad and somewhat ironic that the mayor of Kingston has said that, he won't stand by and wait for more people to die. Well, that's exactly what closing a supervised injecting site will do.
This researcher says there's a large body of evidence from 4 countries that suggests these sites save lives.
People are conflating the operation of the supervised consumption site with homicides that are happening, when in fact those 2 things may be completely unrelated.
Consumption sites have been under scrutiny recently. In August, the Ontario government changed proximity rules. No sites within 200 meters of a school or daycare. 10 supervised consumption sites must close under the new rules, prompting protests in Toronto.
Are they going to be using in the park, in the laneway? Where will they go?
A question those displaced in Kingston are now asking themselves.
So what, we're all going to end up on the streets downtown? Is that any better than having us in a controlled space?
A tough few days about to stretch into weeks of uncertainty. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Toronto.
High-level talks are underway in Washington tonight over Ukraine's request to fire long-range missiles obtained from Western countries deep into Russia. This after Russian President Vladimir Putin issued a stern warning. As Richard Madden shows us, Joe Biden is weighing the risk of sparking a wider conflict.
Mr. Prime Minister, welcome.
In their first high-stakes meeting at the White House, U.S. President Joe Biden and new British Prime Minister Keir Starmer are considering an urgent request from Ukraine.
The United States is committed to standing with you help Ukraine as it defends against Russia's onslaught and aggression. Clear that Putin will not prevail in this war.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is pleading for Western allies to lift restrictions and approve the use of long-range missiles they supplied to hit strategic targets deeper into Russian territory.
We wanted very much to use this weapon and just to attack these jets on the military bases, not civilians infrastructure, military bases.
Ukraine insists the longer-range weapons would be a game-changer to help destroy Russian air bases and supply depots that its shorter-range missiles just can't reach.
I think the next few weeks and months could be crucial. Very, very important that we support Ukraine in this vital war of freedom.
But Russia's President Vladimir Putin warns if the West approves Ukraine's ask, NATO would be at war with Russia. So far, some NATO allies are split on Ukraine's request. The UK has signaled it would let Ukraine use its Storm Shadow missiles to strike Russian targets, but needs U.S. approval since the weapons are made in the U.S. Germany has long refused to send its missiles, citing concerns of escalating the war, while the U.S. says missiles it supplied cannot be used outside Ukraine's borders.
People of Ukraine will prevail.
Biden has hinted he's open to the plan, despite warnings from U.S. intelligence that Russia could retaliate by helping Iran target American forces in the Middle East. And Zelensky says he'll also meet with Biden later this month to present what he calls his victory plan on how to end the bloody war with Russia. Richard Madden, CBC News, Washington.
President Biden condemned the targeting of Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, making reference to those false accusations by Donald Trump during the U.S. presidential debate.
There's no place in America. This has to stop what he's doing. It has to stop.
Trump claimed Haitians in the city have been eating pets. Local officials and police say that's simply not true. The city has seen 2 days of bomb threats at schools and municipal buildings following the debate. Today, Trump promised large deportations from Springfield if he's elected. 2 American astronauts stranded on the International Space Station spoke publicly today about the safety concerns with their Boeing rocket.
We've got lessons learned that we will go through. We will have discussions. We will be involved with those discussions, and things that need to change will change. Boeing's on board with that. We're all on board with that.
Barry Wilmore and Sonny Williams arrived in June, but problems aboard Boeing's Starliner capsule made their scheduled return 8 days later too risky. On Saturday, the Starliner returned to Earth without them. The current plan is to bring them home next February on a SpaceX rocket. The Prime Minister is blasting the NDP leader, claiming he's weak on climate change. This after Jagmeet Singh seemed to back away from the carbon tax. As David Thurton explains, the policy is running out of defenders as Conservatives turn up the pressure.
For sure. At an event showcasing Canadian space tech, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau ripped into a former political partner.
I know there's a lot of people really disappointed with the NDP playing simple politics, walking away from progressive values, walking away from the fight against climate change.
A response to the NDP leader's recent suggestion he was backing away from parts of a policy he once supported, the federal carbon tax and rebate.
We want to see an approach to fighting the climate crisis where it doesn't put the burden on the backs of working people.
Singh says his party is working on its own plan to reduce emissions, but wouldn't say if it includes a consumer carbon tax. And he's not the only one who has second thoughts.
A lot of British Columbians are struggling with affordability.
BC was the first province to impose a carbon tax way back in 2008, long before federal carbon pricing. But now its NDP premier says if Ottawa scraps the federal requirement, he'll ditch BC's carbon tax and focus on big polluters.
The political consensus that we had in British Columbia has been badly damaged by the approach of the federal government to this issue.
EB is facing an election next month against a newly united Conservative Party opposed to the carbon tax. As federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre tries to frame the next election as a referendum on the policy.
We need a carbon tax election now to give Canadians hope that once again we can bring home the country we love.
reduce our dependency on fossil
Environmental advocates say left-leaning politicians are caving to political pressure.
It's very worrying when progressive politicians are engaging in a race to the bottom when it comes to climate policy.
Liberals say they're sticking with their carbon pricing system, but it's becoming much more of a lonely fight. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
The final push is on in a pair of two crucial by-elections on Monday, and the NDP is trying hard to hang on to a crucial seat in Winnipeg. Karen Paul shows us what they're up against.
Leela Dance is pounding the pavement, trying to maintain a stronghold.
I'm Leela Dance, I'm with the NDP.
Anchored by this rail yard and its influential unions, this Winnipeg riding has voted NDP 10 times in the last 36 years.
People's concerns are all the same. It's the cost of groceries, it's the cost of housing and rent, it's our healthcare system. It's impacting everyone in this community.
The Conservatives have only won this riding once in 2011. But this time they've nominated an electrician and union member. Colin Reynolds and his team have not replied to repeated requests for an interview, but he's active on social media.
We need to send Sellout Singh and Justin Trudeau a message, and this is your chance to do it.
His strategy?
Tying the NDP to the Liberals. It's kind of a particular strategy at this moment in time. The Liberals are very unpopular. They're certainly not competitive in that seat.
People are done with Justin Trudeau and the Liberals. But we cannot return to Conservative cuts.
The stakes are high for the New Democrats. The Tories are going after the NDP's traditional base, including unionized workers.
It's not about talking to union bosses or fighting corporate greed. It's about talking to workers and what their needs are. And that's the big distinction right now with today's Conservatives and today's NDP. The NDP are really ingrained in union style talk instead of worker talk.
Are there any Liberals here?
The Liberals, Greens and People's Party also have candidates in this race. So does the brand new Canadian Future Party.
If you're disillusioned by the big three, if you feel politically homeless, there is a new party. We are listening.
You can bet politicians of all stripes are listening to what voters have to say. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
And you can watch the results come in of that by-election and the heavily contested one in Montreal on Monday night. David Cochran hosts CBC's special live streaming coverage starting at 9 Eastern. In the U.S., pop star Justin Timberlake has pleaded guilty to impaired driving after his arrest in June in the Hamptons.
This is a mistake that I made, but I'm hoping that whoever's watching and listening right now can learn from this mistake. I know that I certainly have.
Timberlake avoided a more serious misdemeanor charge through a deal with prosecutors. He was ordered to complete community service and deliver a public service announcement against drunk driving. And the alleged drunk driver accused of killing NHL player Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew was ordered to remain in jail during a court appearance today. According to prosecutors, 43-year-old Sean Higgins had a blood alcohol level above the legal limit the night of the crash. They also argued he often had road rage. The two brothers were riding their bikes in New Jersey the night before their sister's wedding when they were killed. The province of Quebec is putting a restriction on tipping.
When you add inflation plus now larger tips, it's led to a lot of consumer fatigue.
How they're trying to change the rules on just how much you tip next. Plus, passengers scramble to make alternate arrangements.
I do have to get back for work, so I just bit the bullet.
What to do if you're booked on an Air Canada flight. And later, the cat came back from the sewer.
Drifter!
The moment he was rescued 7 weeks after going missing. We're back in 2. Okay, so let me start by saying no one got hurt here, but behind that row of cars, you can see a train slamming into a truck hauling a military tank. The train was apparently stuck on the tracks. The driver did get out in time. No one was hurt. If it feels like you're being asked to tip more often, Well, you are. Now Quebec is proposing new rules to change just how much businesses can ask you to tip. Ithel Musa looks at how the plan is being received.
Tired of seeing this every time you make a purchase? You're not alone. Many Canadians are tired of excessive tipping, with suggested amounts of up to 30%, driving some over the edge.
The pricing of the products are inflated, then there's service charge, packaging charge, and then there is a pressure of tipping.
And Quebec wants to put an end to it. This week, tabling a new bill that would force merchants to calculate tips based on the price of goods before taxes. To show their support for service workers during the pandemic, many Canadians tip more, but this expert says things have changed.
In a post-COVID environment, when you add inflation, plus now larger tips and more people asking for tips, it's led to a lot of consumer fatigue.
According to a 2023 Angus Reid poll, 62% of respondents said they were being asked to tip more. 83% said too many places were asking for tips, while only 13% believed service had improved as tips increased. Quebec's Restaurant Association says merchants likely won't bear the brunt of the proposed change.
The workers will be the one will be much impacted with this bill because they will have less tips.
Consumers' generosity isn't only appreciated, it seems necessary.
I've worked in the hospitality business, and when I get good tip because I give good service, I'm very happy.
Still, the province says tipping should remain discretionary with no pressure to do it. Ithel Musa, CBC News, Toronto.
As the Toronto International Film Festival evolves, it's facing new challenges, but that means new opportunities for some filmmakers.
I think it's a good moment for Canadian film.
How it's making more room on the red carpet for Canadian movies. Plus, travelers facing uncertainty with an Air Canada work stoppage looming.
We want to choose to change our flights just to avoid the risk of, missing out the flight.
Our panel breaks down the sticking points and what you need to know if you're traveling. And he's one of the only Republicans to take a stand against Donald Trump, and he's paid a heavy price for it.
I had to, at that moment, make the decision that I am willing to stand alone in this battle.
Adam Kinzinger speaks to Ellen Morrow about his new documentary and his endorsement of Kamala Harris. The National breaks down the stories shaping our world. Next. You're looking at security footage of a brazen smash and grab theft inside a London art gallery. A creation by graffiti artist Banksy was snatched, but later recovered by police. The piece is a print of his famous Girl with Balloon. 2 men have been charged with this burglary. It's the final weekend of Toronto's International Film Festival, and this year marked a major shift. Competition from other film festivals means fewer international premieres. But as Eli Glasner reports, that's opening the door to more Canadian productions.
TIFF, the annual avalanche of stars trekking to Toronto, including Hugh Grant, the star of the Shot in Canada horror film, Heretic.
I loved being in Vancouver, and you're lucky to be Canadian.
I'm from Toronto, Canada. You can't take any of this that seriously.
And of course, there's Canadian stars. As competition with other festivals has increased, the star wattage has shifted, with the Venice Film Festival nabbing some of the glitziest world premieres.
A lot of the big premieres are now going to Venice because they want that launch for the European crowd and the international crowd. What do you have to say?
I think if you look at our lineup this year, you'll see how strong this year's festival is.
While TIFF keeps battling for big-name premieres, it's also increasingly a place for Canadian stories, with 59 titles this year, an increase of nearly 20%.
Every year, we're able to present master filmmakers who are well-known, like David Cronenberg and Guy Maddin, but we also have got up-and-comers.
What are you doing here?
Matamara, a new film starring the director of the breakout smash hit Blackberry, is part of the new generation, challenging expectations.
I think it's a good moment for Canadian film, and I think it's because there's been a string of really interesting films, new voices, new directors, and I think audiences are noticing.
So are actors. What brought actor Chloe Sevigny to the big buzz film Bonjour Tristesse? Montreal director and writer Durga Chubose.
We got on a call and I was immediately taken with her and how articulate she was, and
just the way she described the movie she wanted to make, it was like, I'd never heard a director speak like that about making a movie before.
And then there's directors such as Amar Walla.
My love for movies came primarily from my dad, who's like an obsessive movie buff. And we were talking the other day, and it hit us that I have a feature film in the same film festival as Francis Ford Coppola. How crazy is that to say?
Not so crazy, as the Canadian contingent and interest continue to grow. Eli Glaster, CBC News, Toronto.
Now it's time to dig deeper into the stories shaping our world. After the attack on the U.S. Capitol, a Republican lawmaker turns against his party.
I had to, at that moment, make the decision that I am willing to stand alone in this battle.
But first,
every time there's a strike, people say, oh, you'll get the government to come in and fix it. We're not going to do that.
Justin Trudeau says no to intervening in the Air Canada dispute as the countdown continues towards a potential shutdown. As we approach the deadline in this labor dispute, we're joined by John Graddick, an aviation expert in Montreal, and Leslie Cater, owner of The Travel Lady in Calgary. And John, let's start with you. What are the main sticking points in these negotiations?
There's a couple. I think the big one that everybody's focusing in on right now is wages and salaries for the pilots. The pilots group is looking for a range between 40 and 45% of an increase over a 2, 3, or 4 year contract. And Air Canada right now has been rumored to be offering 30%. So there's a significant gap between what Air Canada is offering and what the pilots are looking for.
Okay, so salary, a big one and a big gap there. Is there anything else we should know in terms of a sticking point?
Yeah, there's scheduling and how the pilots get scheduled and the amount of flying that they're doing. They're bidding for a certain set of flying, and what they're actually being deployed on day of flight is a very different set. So there's no consistency in terms of what they are planning to fly and what they're actually flying, and it's disrupting that work-life balance.
None of us knows what's happening, obviously, at the negotiating table or even, between the two parties away from the table. But as best as you can tell, John, what you know about these issues, how likely do you think it is that this is going to be resolved without a work stoppage?
I think that given the messaging that we're getting from the Air Canada management team, and then the statements made by the CEO, they consider to be these wage demands by ALPA to be unreasonable. And they are, and asking for binding arbitration from the government to stop this work stoppage before it even starts. I think we're heading for a work stoppage on 0001, September 18th.
Leslie, let's look at it from the traveling public side. I know there is a lot of anxiety there. I've seen it on social media. I've seen it among my friends and acquaintances. What about among your clients? What have you been seeing and hearing?
Well, the same thing, Ian. A lot of anxiety, a lot of people not knowing quite what to do. I do think that Air Canada has done a pretty good job on their website of setting out the dates and what you can do and how you can cancel. It's not much comfort, though, if you've got something like a cruise booked or a tour booked or a family wedding you need to go to. And people are scrambling and being very creative in what they're doing to get there.
So give us a sense of that.
Well, I've got people who've actually gone ahead and they've booked WestJet tickets going into Europe. And bear in mind, we are in the middle of the highest demand for Europe at the moment. And so what they've done is they've gone in and bought fully refundable WestJet tickets just in case. Or maybe they've bought Lufthansa tickets or one of the other airlines flying out, and they're keeping that as their sort of insurance policy. So they know that they will get to Europe one way or another. And as Air Canada said, if Air Canada cancels the flights, you get a full refund, irrespective of the fare basis.
I know in Vancouver, probably in your city, Calgary as well, and maybe Edmonton, there are people who didn't even realize that Porter, for example, flies long haul to Toronto now, and they're starting to look for options and booking, for example, on Porter, among others. Are you seeing that? Are you seeing, do you think coming out of this that an airline like Porter might actually benefit long-term from just the, kind of rising visibility?
Well, they definitely will. I had circumstances to book them myself for family coming to visit me from Ireland. And I booked them flying from Toronto into Vancouver on Porter, and then I booked them from Vancouver to Calgary to come and visit me. And the Vancouver to Calgary fare was higher than the Porter airline. Couldn't believe it.
Wow. John, the Prime Minister today was asked whether the government would step in and end a strike if indeed one did begin, and he said no. So if we do get to a work stoppage, and you're pointing out that it seems likely we're headed in that direction, do you have a sense of how long that would go on?
I think that when you look at the way these dynamics typically work in a strike for a large airline like Air Canada, I would say that the horizon would be 7 days to 10 days at most. And if Mr. Trudeau and the federal government get, significant pressure, they may jump in after day 2 or day 3. The words today don't seem very encouraging for that. So I think the resolution of this dispute will be back at the bargaining table, and Air Canada is going to have to come through and put a little water in their wine and come closer to where the union is looking for a settlement.
It's really hard, John, for members of the public to assess kind of who's the villain here, if indeed there is a villain. And again, from your aviation business analyst perspective, how do you feel about the wage demands here of the pilots and what Air Canada has come back with? Like, is there one side or the other in particular that you think is on the right path?
No, I think both of them have got some rethinking to do in terms of their positions. I think Air Canada has to realize that the new standard for wages for pilots has changed significantly over the last 24 to 36 months with a number of agreements that have been made in the U.S. for pilots, and that the pilots know that they can't expect an exact match of Canadian wages with U.S. wages. There's too much of a disparity in terms of the cost of living and living in Canada. And I think that, they may have to reduce their demands somewhat, but there's going to have to be a significant compromise to get a settlement. I figure somewhere between about 38 and 42% will probably make the deal work.
Leslie, 30 seconds left. Any final words for those people who had plans to fly Air Canada next week who are nervous tonight?
Right. Well, it all depends on what's on the other end of your flight. So if you haven't got anything important or crucial, then maybe just sit back and wait. And if Air Canada cancels, you'll get a full refund. But as I said, if you've got plans to go over there, you need a backup.
Leslie Cater, John Graddick, thank you so much.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Have a good evening.
Coming up, a new documentary looks at the personal and political cost when Republicans stand up to Donald Trump.
I think a lot of them have convinced themselves that this is the right thing to do.
Adam Kinzinger on the decision to vote for Kamala Harris and why he thinks U.S. democracy is on the line. That's next on The Breakdown. Horrified by the events of January 6th, a Republican congressman lashed out at his party.
How can a party claim to be patriotic if it idolizes a man who tried to overthrow a free and fair election?
Now, Adam Kinzinger is supporting the other side.
Vote for our bedrock values and vote for Kamala Harris.
His story told in a new documentary. The last Republican premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival. Ellen Morrow talked to Kinzinger about the upcoming election and his worries for a second Trump term.
How did you feel when you realized that January 6th wouldn't be the end of Donald Trump's hold over your party?
Just a really sick feeling. And I had to, at that moment, make the decision that I am willing to stand alone in this battle.
Adam Kinzinger is a rare Republican for his defiance of Donald Trump.
President Trump ultimately wanted the Department of Justice to put its stamp of approval on the lies.
The former Illinois congressman, once a rising Republican star, ostracized from his own party after he stood up to Trump's false claim that he won the 2020 election.
He was willing to sacrifice our republic to prolong his presidency.
Adam Kinzinger.
And now the conservative is campaigning for Kamala Harris.
I am proud to be in the trenches with you.
What Kinzinger calls a fight for democracy has come at great personal and political cost.
We have got a January 6th hearing that is going to start in like an hour.
All of it detailed in a new documentary, The Last Republican, premiering at the Toronto International Film Festival.
With this documentary, you're at first letting a film crew and now audiences into really intimate moments of your life at a difficult time in your life. Why was it important for you to do that?
Well, it was a couple things for us. So we knew that this was going to be a very historic time, and we knew there was value in capturing that. And I think it was important to show the human cost of doing the right thing.
January 6th changed the trajectory of Kinzinger's career and life. He and Liz Cheney were the only two Republicans to serve on the congressional committee that blamed Trump for that dark day, prompting a barrage of death threats against Kinzinger at his Capitol Hill office.
Wait till we're outside your fucking house, you traitor. We're going to line you up on a wall and take care of all your traitorous asses.
Kinzinger says he regrets nothing and is angry more of his former colleagues refused to act.
Any room you walk into as a member of Congress, except the White House, you're the most powerful person in that room. So over time, people don't want to give up that title. They're not ready to. And they make little tiny compromises in their soul to be able to stay in good graces. And eventually you compromise enough of yourself that you either convince yourself you're doing the right thing or you convince yourself that you can't go back.
Do you think your former colleagues believe they're doing the right thing, or is it more on the politics side of it?
That's a really good question, because if you put them on, say, the CIA truth juice, right? If you put them on that, they would probably tell you that this guy's crazy and we shouldn't be doing this, but I've got to survive this next election. And I think a lot of them have convinced themselves that this is the right thing to do.
As someone who's had a front row seat to 2020, January 6th, what would you say about the overall fragility of democracy, not just in the United States, but just generally?
Democracy is much more fragile than I ever thought. On January 5th, I never knew that I could actually lay out a scenario where I would see democracy failing. And today I could do that. I mean, what I have learned is that Canada, the UK, Australia, and some of our closest allies like Germany, a lot of the times political trends are just 5 years behind wherever the United States is at on some of those political trends. So never embrace extremist movements, right or left. Stay in the middle, expel them, isolate them, and continue to govern through democracy.
That was Kinzinger's message when he spoke at the Democratic National Convention.
Some have questioned why I've taken the stand I have. The answer is really simple, ladies and gentlemen. We must put country first.
What was that like for you? Because at the end of the day, you're still a conservative Republican.
So it was unique, right? I never thought 10 years ago I'd be speaking at the Democratic National Convention, but it wasn't that hard of a decision at all. I mean, literally, I think the future of democracy hinges on what happens in November. And so I knew that we needed to reach Republicans. And, it just goes to show this belief that I have that we have to have this awkward alliance to defend democracy.
And so looking towards November then, what role do never Trump Republicans like yourself, like Liz Cheney, have to play? Is it about appealing to voters in the middle, the undecided? What is your role?
Our role is, look, there is probably 20 to 25% of Republicans that feel ashamed that Donald Trump is the nominee. I think our message is to those disaffected Republicans to say, it's okay to vote kind of against what you believe, and so that's what we're out there to do. But I think whichever party, and Democrats are in a better position to do it, can embrace people like me, which is a significant amount of the country in the middle, that will be the party that can stay in power for a long time.
Kamala Harris, as you know, said she would appoint a Republican to her cabinet. Would you be interested?
It depends what it is. Certainly, I would be interested. It's an honor to be able to do that, and being on the cabinet is a huge deal. I wouldn't take just any job. For me, I would have to have passion about it. It would have to be something I know I'd be good at.
Have there been discussions?
Not yet. No. No.
And you wouldn't tell me even if there were, I'm sure.
Right.
But before any new government can be formed, there must be a peaceful transition of power. And Kinzinger says in America today, there's no guarantee of that.
If Donald Trump loses again, what do you think we'll see? Another refusal to accept the results, a repeat of January 6th?
I certainly think he'll never admit he lost, ever. Where I think the real concern is, and actually worries me a little more than January 6th, is at the different state house levels. So you can imagine a state where it's run by a Republican governor or a Republican legislature. The legislature is the one that actually has to determine who won that election. But if a Republican legislature basically determines, like, we're not going to certify Kamala Harris's win in Arizona, you can see violence popping up there, you can see militia intimidation at the state houses, and you can see a real constitutional crisis.
How concerned are you?
Pretty concerned. I think if Donald Trump loses, to steal his word, bigly, then I think we're in a much better position. But if it's close like it looks like it's going to be, you convince a significant amount of the population that their vote doesn't count, I think violence is not an unexpected result of that.
The director of The Last Republican says he wanted to shed light on the part of Kinzinger's story most people can relate to, facing a difficult decision which could carry serious consequences. Now, a quick preview of our Sunday interview. Earlier today, I sat down with Katie Lang. After 3 decades of iconic performances, multiple Grammys, and some controversies, she's back home for an honor many feel is overdue. Here we are in Edmonton. You're about to be inducted in the Canadian Country Music Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Did you see that coming?
Never. I never did, actually. I didn't even think about it. But obviously, I'm thinking about it a lot in the last few weeks. And my hotel room overlooks the north, which I see the hospital I was born. So Edmonton is such a part of who I am. It's in my blood, and just to be coming back here for this occasion is it's very rich, very, very rich.
And the embrace, I would assume this says about the country music industry, the community of you.
Well, yeah, I didn't really experience that before, but now I'll take it. No, I think I did. I certainly experienced it in Edmonton, but in country music in general, maybe not, but I knew what I was getting into, so.
I think you'll like the interview. It will be on this Sunday right here on The National. Up next, a cat gets rescued after spending 7 weeks in a sewer.
So as soon as we got that up, you could see that's when the little tabby paw came out.
The felines return to freedom in our moment.
CBC's daily news podcast, Front Burner, takes you deep inside the stories shaping Canada and the world. New episodes come out every morning, Monday to Friday. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube.
Well, this is Drifter, a 3-year-old tabby cat who found himself in a muddy situation when he got stuck in a sewer for almost 2 months. Luckily, his family heard his meows for help, and tonight, Drifter's dramatic return makes our moment.
It's Drifter! It's Drifter!
We were all really sad that Drifter had left us. Our stepdaughter, April, was walking behind our house because it had been about 7 weeks since he'd gone missing. Yeah. She and the neighbor kids heard some meowing under the street and called for us to come outside and check in on things.
Sure.
We needed to prop that big kind of metal piece you see in the video up so that we could get a little further down in, and then there was like a fabric mat that was underneath all this, and there was a little hole in it, so as soon as we got that up, you could see that's when the little tabby paw came out.
It's Drifter!
He kind of pulled himself halfway out, and we were able to pull him the rest of the way, and he emerged into the sunlight.
Drifter!
Some of my less sensitive friends, when I would kind of grouse about how our cat was gone, would be like, well, I mean, you did call him Drifter. So it's been fun to see how the joy of finding Drifter has become now maybe an international experience that everybody gets to appreciate together.
Oh my God.
They just put this.
Plus, of course, they had the video of the moment, so that helped make it this international sensation. If you're wondering, Drifter was 15 pounds before it got stuck in that sewer, 6.5 pounds after that long separation. So obviously, even though the cat looked pretty good when it got out, obviously a pretty arduous few weeks for it. That is The National for September 13th. I hope you join me Sunday for Cross Country Checkup on CBC Radio and CBC News Network, and later that night back here for The National. Have a great Saturday.